Welcome, everyone, to this exclusive Fast Casual webinar as part of the Lease Cake Live series, featuring inspiring stories of great brands and their operators. I'm Mandy Detweiler, Managing Editor for Networld Media Group and the moderator for today's event. Today, we'll spotlight a prominent multi-unit franchisee with 18 locations of well-known brands like Capriotti's, Auntie Anne's, and Baskin Robbins. In this session, he'll share his wealth of experience and expertise in the restaurant space, providing valuable insights and strategies for both aspiring and existing multi-unit operators. Please welcome Jeff Klein and the moderator of Lease Cake Live, Taj Adhav.
Jeff, welcome.
Taj, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. No, thank you also, Mandy. Appreciate you pulling this off. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. I'm in sunny Miami, and it could probably be any time zone. Where are you calling in from, Jeff?
I'm in sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. Sunny and 70 today, so we'll be outside later this afternoon for sure.
There you go. So between Miami and Vegas, we got most of this country covered. But before we jump in, my name's Taj Adhav, and I'm the founder of Lease Cake, an award-winning lease management and lease accounting solution for restaurants. We know your time is precious, and we built a platform that helps you save time and focuses on what matters when it matters. And it's built in a platform that works for you and not the other way around. So speaking of working for you, Jeff, did you like order lunch and subs and ice cream for everybody?
Everybody on this panel today is going to eat Capriotti, so I love it.
That is too generous. Well, listen, thank you so much again, and let's jump in. We want to hear your pearls of wisdom. So why don't you tell us a little about yourself, number of locations you have, et cetera, and your background?
So, I've been in franchising 15 years. I started way back when in a family business in a past lifetime, moved to Las Vegas in 2000, worked through the gaming industry a little bit, got into mortgage lending, got into medical device sales. And while I was doing mortgage lending, a friend of mine called and asked me if I could help him get an equity line of credit on his house. And December of 2007, the world was kind of falling apart. And I said, you know what, I don't think I can get the value of your house to be where it needs to be. What are you doing? And he said, I'm trying to buy this sandwich shop called Capriotti's. Have you ever heard of it? And I said, heard of it. Every doctor's office I sell to, we're catering 3 days a week. And I said, look, we have some cash, we have, good credit. Maybe we'll be partners. And we partnered up, and we went to a bank and got a loan. In May of 2008, we bought our first store. In August of 2009, bought the second. September of 2009, bought the third. By 2011, we had 6. And by 2013, we had 16 Capriotti's. And in 2013, we added one location of Auntie Anne's pretzels. And then in middle of 2014, he and I split up, and I took some stores, he took some stores, and I added Baskin Robbins, and I added the Gents Place, and I've since added Better Lunch. And so, currently today I operate 19 locations, 4 different brands across 2 states.
So a lot of this has to do with not just great brands and great restaurants, but also serendipity. I mean, you were in mortgage lending, and the whole sub story, like that's fascinating.
Yes, I mean, I can trace a lot of this success back to like being in the right place at the right time, like meeting the right person, being in the right situation. I mean, even meeting you at the restaurant finance show in that small room where they had first-time participants, and because of what you had, we went across and we were able to get more locations. And so I really feel lucky that I've been just kind of in the right place at the right time, and and how all this has kind of come about.
That's very, very cool. Are there others that are in your sphere of influence that are kind of have that same story? Some of your friends, are they in restaurant operations?
I have a few, but not a lot. It's interesting. I have a host of different range of careers that my friends have had: banking, finance, obviously in Vegas, a lot of gaming and hospitality, medical. But the restaurant people that I know is who I've met in the industry. I've met at conferences. I've met through acquaintances, things like that. And so and it's come and it's worked very well for us.
That's great. As far as brands, so you started off with serendipity, right? We've got into Capriotti's. Like, how do you choose the brands that you want to add to your portfolio? Talk
So I started the Capriotti's and I was a fan of it. I mean, I ate the sandwiches, and so it was nothing for me at the time, 15 years ago, to walk in and eat a 20-inch capastrami and walk out feeling good about myself. Now I take one bite and I'm full. But it was, it kind of, again, it just kind of, the opportunities presented themselves. I mean, the Capriotti's, we bought the first one, 9 months and never went in the restaurant. I was a pure silent partner. And then as more locations came on, I got a little bit more involved. We added the Los Angeles, California market, and we had an agreement to build some stores there. And we built 8 stores in Los Angeles. And so I was kind of crossing both worlds by, I had a job, but I was also helping develop these stores. Well, got a call from a casino operator and asking me, they had a small space inside a casino saying, hey, we're looking for a dessert concept. Can you go find something? And so I went out and searched around and found pretzels and opened a location of Auntie Anne's pretzels. And, 4 years later, they called and said, hey, we have another location. We want to put Auntie Anne's in, but it's too big. What else can you do? And so we decided to do an Auntie Anne's and a Baskin Robbins co-brand. So that location, it's one space, but it's Baskin Robbins and Auntie Anne's in the same location, one back of the house, but two separate registers, obviously how we do it. And so, fast forward a couple years, and I was having a bad Capriotti's day and sitting around, and it was a Sunday, and I was complaining to my wife that I needed to diversify. And she said, look, you've been talking about this diversifying. Do me a favor, go take your son and go diversify and go get your hair cut. And so we ran up the street to Sport Clips, which was kind of a thing we like to do, and went to Sport Clips, and I'm sitting there and he's sitting there. He looks at me, he goes, Dad, he goes, you got to buy Sport Clips. This is diversify. I said, you know what? You're right. That's a great idea. And so I started to investigate it, went to Austin, Texas, met with the Sport Clips people. Las Vegas was kind of not fledgling, but it wasn't a market that was doing very well. And we decided to take a look at it. And, sadly, they decided that they were going to keep this market here in Las Vegas as a training center. And, that was the end of it. Well, fast forward a year, I was speaking on a real estate panel at the multi-unit show. And after the panel, a gentleman comes up and he goes, hey, you're the guy from Vegas wanted to do Sport Clips in Vegas. I said, I am. He goes, look, you got to come with me. If you're still interested in that industry, there's this brand called the Jen's Place, and they've got a booth here. Let me take you over there. And so I went over to the booth of the Jen's Place and just fell in love with the concept. And so 5 years ago, we started, and we just went to our 4th year anniversary of the Jen's Place, which for those who don't know is an upscale men's grooming lounge. And so now I'm diversified. So, I cut hair, I make pretzels, I scoop ice cream, make sandwiches. And then this past year, you see on the screen there, Better Lunch. This past year, I purchased a company, and basically we cater a couple thousand lunches a day to 30 private and charter schools here in the Las Vegas area. And we do some senior citizen Meals on Wheels, and we cater some other organizations. And I'm busy, Taj.
Sounds like it.
It's busy.
So there's so much here beyond the logos, because this is not just subs and ice cream and great pretzels and haircuts. I mean, whether you run coffee shops or taco restaurants or it kind of can run the gamut, right? You always have to be open to new ideas, and
Correct.
There's nothing necessarily that can hold you back, right? It's either serendipity, like you talked about being a silent partner for 18 months.
Well,
this is kind of way back.
Yeah, I was a silent partner for 3 years, really. I mean, I did some help in developing, but I didn't have really anything to do with the operations for 6 years. I woke up one morning and I had 13 of my own stores, and I still had yet to pull a turkey. Had yet to, to make a lot of sandwiches. And so it's, somebody asked me recently, what do you love doing? And I said, I don't know, but I just love to continue to create. And so I can't say I love one brand over the other. I just love the next brand, I guess, or the next opportunity, the true entrepreneurial spirit, if you believe in it.
That's the coolest thing about running a restaurant. It's a factory. You've got a factory and a showroom within literally 5 feet of each other.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
Never thought of it that way, but that's a great way to look at it.
yeah. And just it's the complexities of running it are just, I mean, it's like so mind boggling because you just think, oh, I'll just run a restaurant. I'll run a coffee shop. And there's just so much to it.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of franchising. And so everyone, people that don't know say, oh my God, you can make your own sandwiches, or, you can make your own pretzel dough, or you can go get ice cream and scoop it yourself. I can't cut hair, but the beauty of franchising is it's sort of, for all intents and purposes, it's plug and play. And so if you are mindful of your shop and you have employees that care and management team that cares, and you have a franchise system that's got, good operation manuals and they have a good system, you can really succeed in this business. And that's why there are so many there's just so many out there. It doesn't stop. I mean, I love the multi-unit show every year because you can just get to see the new up and coming things that are coming.
Yeah. It continues to reinvent itself.
Yeah.
I do want to just pause for a second and just remind everyone that's listening, that's attending this Lease Cake Live series. Questions are always open. We've got the ability to answer questions during this conversation, or we can certainly wait till the end. So please have your questions come. We've actually got a few already in. So just a gentle reminder. So speaking of questions, you've been selecting brands, you've been doing this, seemingly successfully in different markets, not just in Vegas, but in others. What's the one question that you recommend people to ask, or what's the most important question that you've asked a franchisor as you've selected to get into that business with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things that, look, we all have to make money. And so it takes money, it takes profits to kind of build what we do. And so yeah. I didn't always think about this until, the last number of years, but really right now, when I'm talking to a new franchisor, prospective brand that I want to branch out to, it's really one question for me. And it's, what's the most important thing to you? And if that person does not say unit level economics, I really have to walk away, because I need, and maybe it's selfish of me, but I need to be the first priority. My profits need to be the first priority. My ability to make a profit, generate revenue and profit so that I can build more stores. So I'm not doing this to do just one location. I do have one location at Baskin Robbins. That's a one-off because of the location that I had, that somebody wanted me to grab ice cream and I grabbed that brand. But, other than that, as I'm trying to, build a network of this unit level economics, you have to ask that question. It has to be the number one thing that somebody says, because other than that, a lot of brands don't care. They, your sales go up, down, your sales are still getting their dollar. When you're losing money, I mean, I have this unique scenario where there have been 27 different Capriotti sandwich shop locations that have come through my ownership portfolio over the last 15 years. And I have stores that have lost money, and I've closed stores. And the stores that were losing money, that were costing me money every month, Capriotti still got the royalty. And, and you can't, when you have that many stores, you want to have everyone make a profit, but they, the world is what it is, they all don't. And so that's the most important. I mean, if someone says to me, unit level economics, I want to keep going.
Got it. So let's talk about men's grooming. Was that kind of top of mind for you to say, hey, let me get into men's grooming? Was it, what was the aha moment for you to get into?
I mean, honestly, literally the aha moment was me sitting there with my son, and, it's sport clips and talking about that. And it's just, again, it didn't, I thought at first, what, I wanted to do tires. I like tires. I looked at house painting. Some other things, I wanted to get out of food. I wanted something different than food so that I wouldn't get so hamstrung in one scenario where if something happened, I always say, for the reason we can't think of, COVID now has been the reason we can't think of. And so, I'm glad that I diversified in that, but no, it was really the Sport Clips opportunity that kind of rode me down this path. I spoke at the multi-unit show. Guy comes up to me, asks me about it, takes me over to the Gents Place booth, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
I went to Dallas and met with them, and this, it's just a phenomenal concept. And it wasn't. Now, differently than Capriotti's, it is much more capital intensive, much more labor intensive in the fact that you can't just grab somebody off the street to cut hair. It takes experience, and it takes a number of people before you find the right people to fit our mold.
Got it. Yep. Any unforeseen circumstances? By the way, these are great questions from the audience that are coming through. Any stories that you can share that, maybe things didn't quite work out as planned, or you had to make a little pivot?
Yeah. Something we didn't speak about. I tried a brand during COVID. It was a mobile pet vet brand.
Got it.
And we basically, we had two vets and we had two vans, and we would send, instead of you bringing your pet to the typical vet hospital, we brought the vet to your house. And we did everything up to when a pet would need an x-ray. We could do all kinds of exams, shots, immunizations, anything you needed up to an x-ray. And if the pet needed something different, we could send them to an animal hospital. And what I didn't realize, phenomenal experience. Okay. Great idea. Dogs, pets hate going to the vet. Okay. They hate the stress of that. We brought the vet to the house, and I woke up one morning and one of the vets quit. And I woke up the second morning and the other vet quit. And now I had two vans and no vets. And so it was, it was a good learning experience to kind of stay in my lane, so to speak. But, it's not always easy. That was an absolute outright failure. You didn't get your vet degree that morning? Yeah. I went to the veterinary convention, and the saying it's like a 15,000 deficit in veterinarians in the country. I'm like, well, I don't know how this is going to work. Great idea on paper. We couldn't pull it off. Well, and since then, the brand is closed. That franchise brand's closed.
So you went from mobile to now just with an actual location. So that's a great segue to how do you choose a location? What's your process?
Yeah. Look, this is not one of those things where I think that as I get older, I get harder. Jeff gets selfish. And so, the first lease I signed in May of 2008, I don't even think I read. And I've gone back and we've laughed about it. It was a 10-year lease, full personal guarantee, the whole lease. Now, fast forward to, I have an attorney, and he's very, 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 very stupidly tough on leases. And I've lost a lot of leases. I've walked away from good locations, but how I picked them, it's a combination of me driving around and corporately real estate team kind of helping with a local broker in an area, giving me locations. And so, Las Vegas is pretty much, saturated for locations that have come available, but I have 3 locations in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I'm actively in the market looking for locations. And I do a lot of driving around myself, and between myself and Capriotti's, corporate team, we come up and we look and see. But again, you don't know. You really don't know if the location is going to be good until you're there. You kind of have a gut feeling. You hope it's good, but sometimes you just don't know. And so, it comes back to me, the most important piece of it's the lease and the lease language. And again, COVID being the thing we can't think of, I'm a lot harder on it right now. And like I said, I've walked away from a couple good locations because I just couldn't stomach signing a lease in case something happened we can't think of that really would, as I get older and I get larger, I can't let one location kind of tear down the whole, tower, so to speak.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there capacity in the retail market right now? I've heard things that it's kind of a landlord market.
I hate to say that. It's a landlord market-ish because I've run into that, but it depends on where your stores are. I have stores in Las Vegas where let me back up. I'm from Youngstown, Ohio, born and raised, and they just opened a store there. And I have stores in Las Vegas where my CAM charges are more than that guy's entire rent. And so I have not been lucky enough to find locations like that where I have really, really, really dirt cheap rent to where I don't have to do as much business to really make it work. We've decided to kind of take shots at locations where we felt they could do, right now I'm trying to make sure that I can have locations that do north of $1 million. And so I don't really want to waste my time for a location that's doing less. It just doesn't make sense. in today's
Right.
cost structure and labor structure and, even rent structure.
Yeah. So what are the things that keep you up at night? Real estate, food costs, labor, all the
No,
above.
labor, food costs you really can't do anything about. Food cost goes up, we raise prices a little bit. We're getting kind of to this ceiling now. We have windows where we like to do price increases. We have another one coming up here next month. I'm really, really nervous about doing it. I want to raise my prices like a nickel a sandwich, just enough to get a little trickle of something coming on top of it. I think the days are gone where food cost goes up, labor goes up, and you just raise your prices to we have this really sophisticated model where we can take all of last year's sales, we can plug in the prices that we want to put now, and it'll spit out the food cost that we're trying to get to. And I think that as time goes on, it's hard. I mean, right now for me, the thing that keeps me up at night is labor. It's waking up in the morning and getting a text or a call from a manager saying, "Hey, can you come help the lunch rush today? Nobody showed up." Or I've had scenarios where I've gotten a text message at 1 in the morning. "Hey, we quit. The whole team quits. We left the keys in the safe." And so I think labor today is the hard thing for us.
Right. Right. On the real estate side, you touched on this. So there were some, deals you walked away from because, you couldn't anticipate what was around the corner. Anything specific that you'd want to share?
Well, look, so look, it's certain things are important to me aren't going to be important to somebody on the, personal guarantees to me, I sign them. Okay. I sign SBA loans. You have to personal guarantee it. On leases, I like to keep those personal guarantees 2 years and less so that, I don't like to be, there are new locations I've looked at where they wanted a 10-year personal guarantee. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not signing it. "Oh, you're going to do great." The broker says, "Oh my God, you're going to do $2 million a year in sales." And I say, "Great, here's what we'll do. Then let's just do percentage rent, be partners." Okay. And so if I do $2 million in sales, you're going to get 30 grand a month in rent. But if I do 500,000 in sales, you're going to get 5,000, you're going to get 3,000 in rent. And nobody ever wants to take that chance. They always think they have a bigger, better building or location than they do. And so I have tried in my negotiations to I try and go to landlords that I feel like can be partners with me more than just me sending them a rent check every month. And when I turn the neon sign on that's not supposed to be on, security guard doesn't come in and tell me to turn it off.
Right.
So that goes back to your previous question. I mean, I try and find landlords that I can be partners with.
Yeah.
And I do due diligence now. I ask tenants in the center. I go back and ask other tenants where I try and find them. "Hey, why'd you leave? Give me some things that, similar to doing due diligence on an employee or on a brand, I'm doing them on landlords now."
Yeah. Yeah. We've heard stories where personal guarantees continue even after the units are sold. And a lot of these operators don't realize that they're still guaranteeing their buyer.
Did I tell you this or no? Did I tell you this? Is this a segue or no? Did I not tell you this?
No, I mean, these are just examples that we hear. So tell me.
I have a location in Las Vegas. And I think the lease was signed sometime in the 90s. I have the original lease. It was typewritten. It was on a typewriter. And we've just done addendums and, changes to it as we've gone along. But the original leaseholders, they are still on the personal guarantee. My guarantee's up. My personal guarantee's up. Theirs isn't. They are still on the personal guarantee.
Do they even know that?
I don't even know. I mean, they're old family members of the original brand holder.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if I told you that when we first spoke, but yeah, they're still on the personal guarantee. I think I have one other location where that's it. I've been fortunate in all the stores I've bought. I have made sure I negotiated the people that were on the guarantee, in order to get them off.
Yeah. Well, that's where due diligence is so important. I mean, you mentioned it, right? You do due diligence on, who you're choosing as a brand, due diligence on your real estate, due diligence on, acquisitions. So, you never know what can kind of sneak through because
we do legal searches now where we go back and look, and I have my attorney look and see if the landlord's ever sued a tenant or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And then why. We want to see, and I've walked away from deals where this landlord's getting sued all the time. You can't have that. There's too much. We have enough to worry about blocking and tackling, just making sandwiches, worrying about, a leak in the wall, and is it my responsibility? The roof leaks, and because the lease didn't say it was their responsibility, it doesn't get fixed. I mean, there's just way too much to worry about than to make sure that you're with the right partner in that scenario.
So you've said this before, right? You've opened locations, you've closed locations, you've renovated locations, you've sold stores, and some are profitable, some weren't. And then I think you summarize, like, how do you define growth, right? There's three elements of growth. There's organic, same store sales. You want to touch on that?
Yeah, it's funny. Right now, we talk a lot about same store sales. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important in stores that are doing very well. We look to do that. We look to grow sales. Okay, Capriotti's as a brand has been down the last 2 years. Single digits, and you feel it. When you get to a certain level of a store, when you have a store that's doing 800 or 850, boy, you get that store to $1 million, that 150,000 extra, a lot of that goes in your pocket. Okay. But when it goes the other way, it's really hard. And so I have some stores that we put on same store sales goals, and I have some stores I'm just putting them on sales goals. Okay, look, you did 12,000 last week. I want to see you get to 13. Okay, that's still maybe down from last year, the year before, depending on, look, like I said, I have enough locations where not every single one is positive growth. This year I have, 5 that are. So 2023, I'm going to have 5 out of 14 stores that have positive sales growth, which is bucking the trend, certainly in our system. And I think in the QSR world, I mean, it's hard right now.
Yeah. Well, that's where you've got landlords that say, hey, I'd happy to be a partner with same store sales, because you're with your, from a percent rent perspective, you're kind of joined at the hip. But that's
we're seeing new things now. So I have an LOI that just put out last week, and in the LOI, we put in something I have not seen in a few years. We have a sales kick out. So we've asked for, if the sales don't do X, we want a chance to terminate the lease. And we had seen that early on in my career. I had seen that in kind of a standard thing. But now I'm seeing it kind of coming back around to where, if the store doesn't do what it says, what they, look, it's buyer beware, obviously. Okay. No realtor is going to put that in writing, but people, typically you're either in the mall business or you're in the standalone business. Okay. I'm fortunate. I kind of have both. So I have 7 locations inside of casino food courts. They are a typical mall kind of lease where it's percentage rent. Okay. If I do really well, there's a minimum rent, but if I do really well, they do really well, and I'm happy. Everyone's happy. If I'm not doing as well, then my rent becomes just a minimum payment until we can rectify it or until something can be done. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to get that now, in this one location, I'm trying to get that. I just kind of threw it out there. Hey, let's do percentage rent.
Yeah.
Let's try it. I'll give you a minimum. And if I do really well, I don't care. All right. If I have to pay more rent, if I can keep the percent of rent around 8%, and I have a store doing $1.5 million and I'm paying that much rent, I don't care. I'm happy. I'm making money. The landlord's making more money. It's win-win-win. Now, I know that doesn't really work a lot of times with an outside, tenant landlord, because they have loans. They have covenants they have to meet. They need to make sure that their rent roll is kind of standard and growing as it goes. And so they don't like to have those fluctuations of it. But, the answer is always no unless you ask. And so we're trying that tactic right now. We go through, look, I really try, again, what is important to me in a lease may not be important to the next person. And so I have an attorney, and he knows what's important to me. And early on, when we were building out LA and we were signing a lease every 90, 120 days, I used to argue with him all the time. Why are you fighting for this? It's the dumbest thing. Who cares? Well, all of a sudden, COVID comes, and we had some things in there that saved us. And we've had a few situations where certain things where I thought they were ridiculous. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard of. Nope, Jeff, I was at a conference and a bunch of attorneys got up on a panel and talked about this happening with landlords. And sure enough, we argued for it. The other side said, Jeff, we don't know why your attorney's arguing for this. And I said, I don't know either, but he's my attorney. And they said, well, fine, we'll agree to it. And then it turned out to be in our favor.
Yeah. Well, that's what, the slide topic here is, tips for lease negotiations. So, all right. So let's talk about, like, the jacks are better to open, the standard things that, you'd recommend, and then we can kind of like up the ante on
Yeah. Well, so personal guarantee. Okay. Don't sign it if you don't have to. Okay. And also, if you have to sign it, you better damn well know what you're signing and what you're being responsible for. So what we try for now is I'm willing to guarantee the base rent only. Okay. So, you have base rent and you have your CAMs and expenses on top of it. I try and only personal guarantee base rent only. If I have to guarantee the entire rent for the time period, then I want a cap on the CAM. I want a cap on the controllable expenses so that landlord can't decide to rebuild the roof and throw it in a CAM and charge me for it, or decides to rebuild the center, or decides to put, a second story on the center at our expense and call it CAM. And there's a lot of protections that landlords put in those leases that I know I've been involved in this long enough now where nobody reads this stuff. Okay. And I don't mean nobody where it's zero, but I'm saying less people are aware of what they're signing than are aware. And so, CAM captures something that we go for. Okay. Something as crazy as an indemnity for hazardous materials. Okay. So that, as time goes on and some of these centers get older and older, I don't know what's in them. I don't know if they dumped oil in the basement. I don't know if what they dumped in there, and we ask for these, and landlords fight them. They don't want them because they know as they get older, stuff. Who's responsible for the roof? Who's responsible for the walls? It's funny as I think back of we do a long LOI, and then we try and negotiate the LOI. So when we get into the lease, the language is kind of easy to do. Even when the personal guarantee runs out, that language is important. Well, what triggers it from not running out? Can't be in default. Some landlords want to say if you were ever in default once, which means that if your rent was ever a day late and they let you know, or if it was 15 days late and they let you know, you go from a personal guarantee you think is gone to 10-year guarantee. And it happened to me. It happened to me. The store is now closed and we're out and we're done. But I signed a lease, opened a Capriotti in 2013, and it was a full 10-year personal guarantee. I did not sign it. My partner at the time had to sign it, and he was okay signing it, and that was on him. It really hadn't, I don't want to say it didn't affect me. That's not really fair, but I wasn't going to be responsible for it. Well, we had a pylon sign, and we had agreed to pay $60 a month for the pylon sign. Well, the personal guarantee ended in 2 years. 21 months into the lease, we get a bill for 21 months at $60 a month for this pylon sign that we had just never seen the bill. We had changed bookkeepers in between it, and they never said a word about it. And it just kind of, we negotiated to get out of the store, and that was the end of it. But that alone there could have triggered the personal guarantee not being released. Something as crazy as $60 a month over 20 months. So, I'm passionate about the personal guarantee. It's a big thing I don't like to sign.
Yeah. So then, the next level as a sophisticated operator, as you are, you've got the experience. You're able to push back and fight for what you think is right. And in a lot of ways, I think that commands respect, right, from the landlord and from their attorneys. Where
they don't care. They don't care. They get they get mad. I appreciate the touch. It's more they get mad, and actually sometimes even the brand gets mad, and so the brand will call me and say, Jeff, your attorney is way too hard on this. Okay, you're way overthinking this, and so now I have to wrestle. Okay, I have the brand over here that wants another location. I have the landlord over here that wants to lease me the location, but they won't give me the terms they want me to lease it. And I say to the brand, well, then you sign the lease. I'll run the store, you sign the lease. So they don't want to sign the lease. And so nobody, people always forget, the franchisors always forget. The franchisees have more money, time, and life invested in this than they do, and they ever will. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And the landlords, have found, sadly, most of them just don't care.
Yeah. Well, it segues right now into lease management, right? Because you've grown something, 20%, I think.
Yeah, I have 5 locations that I can attest to. The 5 stores that I have, they did not have lease cake. They had no lease management. I have 5 situations in my 15 years where I got a call from an agent saying, Jeff, hey, Jimmy John's didn't renew their lease. They forgot. Do you want the space? And Quiznos was a big one. I have 3 Quiznos locations that were they just didn't know that time. And the landlords, they trick you in your lease. They trick you between 6 months and 9 months, between 1 month and 6 months. On the 3rd Tuesday of the last 15 minutes of this day, you have to tell me you want to keep the store. And they didn't have that. They didn't have that product that you guys offer. And it hurt them and it benefited me. And on the flip side, once I had your product, it saved me. I totally forgot about a lease. Okay. And I spent 3 nights dead sleepless because I thought I was going to lose a store. And I was lucky that the landlord's a friend, and he knew. He let me sweat it out for a couple of days. I know he didn't want me to move, but he could have done anything he wanted with the lease. And so I think that, I want to press on anyone on here that has a lease that doesn't use lease cake. You're putting yourself at risk and at peril. Like, it should be lease cake. Something like that should be like what the bank requires. When you lease a car, they require you to have gap insurance. They should require this so there's not an issue, that you don't ever have a risk. I mean, again, we have so much to worry about. We have to worry about these dates on a calendar that say, hey, make sure you tell the landlord you're going to stay, or you're going to leave. I mean, we've got to, this year in March of 22, I was fortunate, March of 23, this past year, I was fortunate enough to have a lease end where COVID really took them all down. But because I had a personal guarantee on the lease, I couldn't leave until the lease was up.
Wow. Well, I appreciate that. And, we're definitely taking notes on making this a requirement for banks and lenders.
Yeah, no, but I think it's important. I mean, you think about that. I mean, I didn't think of it this way until it could have happened to me. But look, I took a store from somebody. That was their livelihood. That was their livelihood. I mean, they begged and pleaded. They wanted to pay more rent. They agreed to pay more rent. I heard, they'll pay double rent. They weren't paying double rent, but they wanted to pay more rent, and the landlord just wanted them out. Landlord couldn't get them out. But they paid the rent. But as soon as they lost the lease, they were gone. They wanted something new and fresh.
Yeah. Wow. I remember when we were on probably our first Zoom call. This is probably before Zoom was even, a standard. 4 years ago, I think. I was in Palo Alto, and you had you were sharing your spreadsheet and all the things, because you're a numbers guy.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
You remember that?
Yes. Yeah. I still use it. I updated it yesterday. Just the way I look at stuff. I mean, some stuff even, I still handwrite notes of things I have to do. I won't show you the camera, but I have sticky notes all over my desk here of things I have to do.
Oh my gosh. Well, start to use our task features, we'll be able to help you even further.
Yep.
So let's talk about franchise support. Support from your franchisors. I think we're going to talk about build outs and financing and things like that. There's some questions that are coming in from our audience. What are the things that you look for that make sure that this is a healthy relationship?
Training and response. And so, training is a big deal. Okay. And being prepared for what you're, not sure is going to come around the corner. And so, when we first got into this, I lost a location. I had to close a location in California because at the time they didn't have the training team they have now. And we opened up a restaurant. We were doing 30,000 a week. We were unprepared for it. We were running around buying bread from the grocery store, and we violated the customers. They never came back, and the store closed. I had to close the store. And so I think that, training is a big piece of it. And look, we pay for it. We all pay royalties. We all pay into a local ad fund. We all pay into a national marketing fund. I mean, I think that, the least we could get is help in doing what they say they're going to do. And I've been very fortunate where Capriotti is very good at that. Okay. And so, but you guys, you read stories all the time about franchisors just being there and collecting the royalty and not answering the phone and not being around, or even worse, promising things that don't come true. not delivering on things they say they're going to deliver on. Capriotti's isn't perfect. No one's perfect, but I will continue to build as many of those as I can, because the support and the access that we have there is great.
That's good to know. But let's talk about brand refreshes and financing. How do you, I don't know how often Capriotti's does or Auntie Anne's.
So each one's different. We literally just went through an Auntie Anne's remodel.
Okay.
And, fortunately the store does well enough, we paid for it ourselves. But franchise agreements, usually 10 years, you have to remodel it up to the current brand. And what's strange about that is you get in a market where you have a number of different stores that have a number of different timeframes on their franchise agreements, and they have to remodel at different times. So we had a meeting with Capriotti's yesterday where we agreed to remodel myself, the 40 stores in Las Vegas. We have about 35 of them, 34 of them right now agreed to do remodel all in 2024. So we can get the entire market remodeled in one time frame. And so, look, the statistics show that a store that has been remodeled to the current brand standards, same store sales go up around 10%. So hard to argue with that. Couple year payoff on a remodel, they're running about 40 to 50 grand right now, depending on what you're doing. But it's worth it. I mean, the couple stores we remodeled have been doing better than they were when they weren't.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we've noticed in the industry compared to what it was 5 years ago, franchisors were just selling more units, more developer agreements. It seems like they're now more into this support mode where how do we make sure that these larger operators do succeed because the market's so much more competitive? Would you agree with that?
I think that, when I signed the first franchise agreement for Capriotti's, they just gave me the agreement and we signed it. Now I use, law firm Minneapolis, and I try to make as many changes to the agreement as I can. And I've never not had a franchisor agree to something. Okay. Some agree to some agree to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Some agree to not a lot, but I try and get every little thing. Again, that's again, a personal guarantee for me, like on a franchise agreement, I won't sign it.
Yeah.
I won't sign it because I can't guarantee, for the thing we can't think of, I can't guarantee that the franchisor that I sign it with is going to be there in 5 years.
Yeah.
Or 10.
Yeah. Makes sense. Let's talk a little bit about, the support ecosystem within a franchise brand. I think you're on an FAC, is that right? Like,
yes.
How do you learn from other franchisees? How do you kind of build this, knowledge community?
Well, it's interesting, Auntie Anne's and Baskin Robbins, I don't even know who my franchise business consultant is. Where Capriotti's, when I need something, I call the president of the company. And so I think a lot of it has to do with where your standing is in the brand. So for the past 15 years, I think I've been on the franchise advisory council for Capriotti's for 10 of them. I'm currently the president of the franchise advisory council. And as Capriotti's has grown, it's been really nice because now I have a number of franchisees that call me for things, and we get to talk about the things that we're doing together. For the first 7 or 8 years of Capriotti's, I think that they were, we had a franchise advisory council, but we didn't really do much with it. We met, but it was more of a time where Capriotti's came to us and said, hey, here's what we're going to do. Now we have a voice, we have a say. These are things that are working. I mean, we're in the restaurants every single day. Our team is on the ground and we're in the muck every second. We come up with the good ideas and we bring them to they bring, people bring them to me, I bring them to the meetings, and there have been a lot of things that have been implemented because of things that we've done at the store level.
That's good. So it's probably going back to one of the earlier topics where we said, what's the number one or one of the questions you'd ask a franchisor, probably, do they have an FAC? I mean, is it common?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that, but that's a great question.
But not all franchisors have one, isn't that correct?
Well, no. So Jen's Place does not have an FAC. Yeah. And so once a month we have, so I'm a franchisee of Capriotti's. I am an SP or a strategic partner for Jen's Place. It's just the terminology they use. So once a month we have a strategic partner meeting that's run by the franchisor. But once a month we have an SP meeting that's run by the strategic partners. And so it's kind of our own in-house FAC where there's a group of us that constantly talking. We're constantly asking questions. I've turned my phone off, but before we started talking to, I've had a couple of franchisees from the East Coast call me and ask me some questions. I mean, I think it's really important to be talking to other franchisees in the system to have access, have access to the information to see who's doing what. I mean, I had a store in Las Vegas, Thanksgiving Day, do $24,000 in a day. It got out to the system. I started getting calls. How'd you do that? What'd you do differently? Why are you doing that? I mean, it's Thanksgiving. Why are you even open? And I'm explaining why I'm open and like, oh my God, I need to do that next year. And so you get a lot of information from sharing stories and talking to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Ideas are better when shared. We also have an advisory council. We call it the K Council, Customer Advisory and Knowledge Expert Council. And it's just wonderful to get, better ideas, continually kind of sharpen the edge. So very, very, very important. All right. So defining success. Let's talk about that. I mean, it's such a broad question, or it's a broad topic. Got personal success, financial success. What other success metrics are you?
Yeah. So I got asked this question the other day. I get asked it a lot from people that I meet. What do you do? I'm in this. How many stores do you have? I try to downplay it. Oh my God, that's fantastic. How many are you trying to get to? And my new thing lately is I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm trying to get to 40 stores or 4. And I don't know, I think that success is on both ends of it. Do I want to get to 4 stores that are all paid off with good leases, that are newly remodeled, good new franchise agreements at good royalty rates that are throwing off mailbox money every month? Or do I want to work 100 hours a week and try and run it and build it? I just don't know. My wife and my wife's a physician, and we're kind of going through this right now with a group we've engaged where we're trying to figure out how we define success. Like, where are we trying to get to? And I think that people always try and do it based on the money and how many stores you have. Look, if you're trying to build 40 stores, I mean, I'm going to have 10 that fail to get to 40. So I have 14 Capriottis. If I'm trying to get 26 more, I'm going to build 32 or 33. 6 or 7 are going to fail because you can't build every one that wins.
Great advice. That's exceptional advice. Because a lot of people just think about that. It's like, oh, I'm just going to open up 10 more stores. They're all going to be successful. You have to continue to experiment and, expect a little bit of failure. And that way you can at least work towards ensuring that there isn't one.
Yeah, you got to fail. I mean, I have good friends that opened up one location of an ice cream brand, and it's not doing well. And I said, I'd rather it not do well the first one than you guys kill it the first one and go build 5 more, and 3 of those don't work. Like, let's figure out what you don't know until you don't know it. Yeah. I'm going into my 16th year. I have built stores, bought stores, closed stores, sold stores. I've sued landlords. I've been sued by landlords. I've sued employees. I've been sued by employees. And so I have a lot of experience. And so I've kind of gone through all this in a gamut of it to where, back to your original question, I'm not sure yet how I can define the success yet. I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Well, we've got 10 minutes and we're kind of wrapping up. We definitely will have time for questions and get those answered as we hit this last slide. Advice. You've talked a lot about, the things that have worked for you, the things that have worked for other franchisees. What about other multi-unit operators, multi-units?
Advice for the unit? I mean,
sure.
Look,
yeah.
I'm going to give the advice that was given to me. You want to make sure that the people that are at the top of your organization are loyal. And I think I have been stupid lucky that, the 3 people that are at the top of my organization have all been with me longer than 10 years. And I don't know why I've been that lucky, but it's one of those things. I think it's really hard. We're starting to look for people now, that care. You got to find people that care, and that treat it like it's their own.
Yeah. And
again, I've been lucky. I've been lucky in a market where people say, you come to Las Vegas and you say, hey, what's your favorite sandwich? And they're going to say the Bobby from Capriotti's. Okay, it's just one of those things. You go to Delaware, But you go to other markets and other brands, you may not get as lucky in doing that. I go to the multi-unit show and I look at all these people up there, and they've got 21 KFCs and 19 McDonald's and 22 Pizza Huts, and I'm thinking, wow, that'd be great if I could have that. But I think that trying to find that balance of not running around with a chicken, legs cut off, versus just kind of manage the organization you have. You get to, in this day and age, you got to be really, really, really careful with labor you're not sure of, with interest rates out of control. Can you even afford the payments? I mean, I've been fortunate where, I have stores that are paid off. And so, if I'm down a little bit, I can take that hit. Okay. I can take that hit. But if you just open up a store in the last 2 years and you're not doing as well as you thought you would, somebody, I met a very successful Burger King franchisee a number of years ago, and he gave me one piece of advice, and he said, do not fall in love with real estate, close a losing store immediately. And so that's kind of, when people ask me, that's kind of what I say. Don't be afraid to close a losing store.
Right. Wow. Sometimes it's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah. First loss is your best loss.
Yeah. Exactly. So we've got a whole variety of different, industries as attendees. So there's a variety of questions, like coming up about branded products. What kind of events do you recommend, finding things that work for you and your brands? Where do you go to look for new equipment suppliers, new technologies and the like?
Yeah. So that question I see from Scott, look, I'm a franchisee. And so I want Capriotti to do that. I don't want to have to go search for, things in those scenarios where look, we have a contract with Cisco. We have an 80% compliance rate, where 80% of things that I buy have to come through Cisco. So a lot of that we're stuck with. And a lot of times, we're very lucky. You have a lot of brands that, have to buy all their stuff through the brand, and so, and you're paying on top of that some markup for the brand, everything branded. We're kind of going away from that. We're looking at bags that don't have a logo on them anymore, that are less expensive. And we put a sticker on the bag that, one, closes the bag and also still has the branding on it. So.
Wild. It's just a reminder of all the different moving parts in a business.
Yes.
Between bags and napkins and digital menus, digital signage, kiosk ordering. So what are the technologies that you're seeing Capriotti's look at potentially? Kiosks. I mean, that's a big.
Yes. So we had the kiosk. It didn't work for us. We did the test.
Yeah.
In the system, it didn't work. The idea of it was to try and help with the labor cost. And what ended up happening is that we didn't have the right solution. It was not powerful enough to enable the customer to get enough information from it that would eliminate the person at the front. We still needed a cashier. And so we decided we just didn't have the right system in place. I had actually purchased one for my location in Utah, and they never delivered it, and we got our money back, and they canceled the contract with, throughout the brand, because it just didn't work for us. Yeah. And look, and we're seeing the robots. You're all seeing robots out there. I saw the robot that makes wings. I saw the robot that makes pizza. I saw the robot that makes French fries. I haven't seen the robot yet that makes sandwiches, but it's coming.
What about robot ice cream scoopers?
Yeah, I haven't seen that either, but it's coming.
It's insane
coming for sure.
Well, keep the questions coming too. These are so funny. It's awesome because they're kind of all over the board, which is great. It's not just how to run a restaurant efficiently. It's also about staffing. So any hiring secrets? You talk about really good people that surround you at the leadership level. What are the things that make your operation?
It's hard. I used to say everyone loves working for Jeff Klein. Okay. And then COVID hit, and then the world kind of did what it did. And so it's not as fun anymore as it used to be. But we're trying to go back to finding people that care. Okay, people that care, that want to come to work, and that want to do their job. It's very, very hard today. It is. Staffing right now is the hardest piece, and also the most expensive piece. Food cost is up there, but staffing pretty soon here is going to be, is going to rival food costs with expenses. And then at that point, what do you do? As states like California that now are, $20 minimum wage starting in April for our restaurants there. But, that basically in 5 years doubles the minimum wage, but the pricing hasn't doubled. The profits haven't doubled. All those people are going to make less profit, have less ability to pay their people. And then they're going to run the restaurants with less people. And then they're going to start violating the customers. It's just a spiral thing all the way down.
Well, we'll cover that on the next Lease Cake Live. The legislative issues and the political pressures that are being put on this incredibly vibrant restaurant industry. It's definitely worthy of at least a day's worth of topics.
Yeah, I agree. That's true. I agree.
It's nuts. But I mean, I'm glad you touched on it because I don't know. You read about it in the news, but I think we need to speak about it more in the industry. I know there's associations that are doing a really good job out there lobbying and things. But we're kind of coming up on time. We've got a couple other questions on the fun side: marketing, social media. What is Capriotti's? What are you seeing? Even Auntie Anne's using what works to drive traffic to your stores? Is it humorous? Is it LTOs? What are the things that you're using?
LTOs are nice. Capriotti's have started to get back to the LTO world the last 6 months. We've had a couple LTOs. Those that are on here that know our food. Yeah. We have the Bobby, which is voted the greatest sandwich in America, and it's turkey stuffing, cranberry sauce. This year we added gravy, 3 weeks ago we added gravy and mashed potatoes to it. And it's there. I mean, the challenge we have is you can't spend enough money on marketing. Okay. So we have kind of gone the wrong way where most brands you read about, you can see in their FDD, we charge 2% local ad fund and we charge 2% national marketing fund. We're trying to get to a point now where we're going to our new advertising agency saying, hey, we want stores that do $1 million. How much do we have to spend to get there? Okay. Is it 3%? Is it 5%? Is it 8%? What do we have to spend? And then we can decide, I have stores doing $800,000. If I've got to spend an extra $3,000 to get that store to $1 million, and I've got to spend $25,000 to get an extra $200,000 in sales, I'm going to make that $25,000 back quickly. Yeah. And so, I see Nick asked, I can't say his social media, local efforts, national campaigns. That is all based on the available dollars. If we had an unlimited marketing budget like Jimmy John's or Jersey Mike's that you see on, college football every week, or Subway that spends 6% on their sales on marketing, we would have all these national campaigns, but we're kind of limited to do what we're doing. We're getting ready to start a birthday mailer. So next week I'm sending out 1,000 mailers in the Salt Lake City market. On your birthday, you're going to get a free 5-inch sub. And it worked very well for us in Utah or in Vegas over the years. Before social media, we're going to try it again. We're kind of going back to that type of thing. So, you're seeing marketing it's expensive, but you have to do it. And nobody, even Subway that spends 6%, they wish they could spend 12. Yeah.
So last few questions here. Trade shows, multi-unit. We met at an RFDC, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago.
Restaurant finance.
Yeah. Any others that you recommend?
I go to IFA.
Yeah.
I go to IFA. I didn't really go for a number of years. I've been going lately just because I like, there are some legislative things that are going on in the world that are important to all of us. And so, and I try and go for networking to try and meet people. Yeah.
Well, man, speaking of meeting people, I'm so glad I met you. It's so wonderful to get your energy and just like the background that you bring, right? From mortgage finance all the way to successful running 19 locations. Jeff, it is always a pleasure.
No, Tosh, thank you so much. Thank you. I see. It seems like I've been seeing you a lot lately, so I enjoy it.
It's fun. It's a blast. Well, be safe in Vegas, and
thank you too.
Good luck skiing in Park City, and best wishes on your growth.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Good luck, everybody.
And I think you're putting our contact information up.
Oh, that's right. Let's do that here on the Q&A side.
There you go.
This is us. Feel free to email Jeff directly or myself, and this is a QR code to get more information about Leesecake. And wonderful to speak with everybody. And thank you so much for your questions.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.